Today I'm in the kitchen making an Easter classic, hot cross buns. There are a few things that represent Easter in my kitchen, and hot cross buns are definitely on that list. Warm, fragrant spices, plump, sticky raisins, and a gleaming, sweet, delicate glaze encrusting deeply golden buns, and that telltale cross on top. These buns are soft, pillowy, and will fill your house with a sweet, fragrant aroma. I'm Rebecca, and welcome to the kitchen. This is how I make hot cross buns. To start off, I'm going to make my bread dough. Since these are rich, pillowy, special occasion buns, I'm going to make an enriched dough. All that means is I'm going to be using richer ingredients and added fat. So I'm going to start with 1 cup of warm milk. It doesn't have to be boiling hot, just warm enough to melt the butter and dissolve the sugar. To the milk, add a half a cup of sugar and 2 tablespoons of butter. Stir this until the butter is melted and you can't feel any grittiness from the sugar. Once the mixture is warm but not hot, sprinkle over top 2 1/4 teaspoons or 1 packet of dry active yeast. My mixture was ready right away, but if you find your milk is quite hot, let it cool down a bit or the heat may affect the yeast and the bread won't rise later on. Set the mixture aside for 5 to 10 minutes. This will give the yeast a chance to soften and become foamy. Now I'm going to mix in 1 egg, a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground clove, and a half a teaspoon of cardamom. Mix this into the liquid. Add in 2 teaspoons of finely grated lemon zest, a 1/4 cup of raisins, and 3 cups of all-purpose flour. If you have bread flour on hand, opt for that instead for the fluffiest light buns. If you're using a stand mixer, use the dough hook attachment to knead for about 5 minutes. If you're kneading by hand, knead the dough on a lightly floured surface for about 8 minutes, or until the dough is smooth and elastic. Cover the dough with a damp kitchen towel and allow it to double in size in a warm spot for about 1 hour. Now that my dough has risen, I can tip it out onto a lightly floured countertop and split the dough into 12 equal pieces. I'm going to shape each into the little circular bun shape. To do this, I flatten the piece of dough out and then fold it over on itself all the way around the circumference of the dough. Place the palm of your hand over the dough ball and roll and tighten it to the counter. Place all the little formed dough buns into a greased rectangular casserole dish or pan. The buns should be close together but not squished. The buns will grow again during the final rise. Cover with a damp cloth and allow to rise in a warm spot until just about doubled again, which is about 1 hour depending on the temperature of your kitchen. Meanwhile, I'm going to get the mixture ready to make the crosses. The crosses are often thought to be icing decoration on top of the buns, but they are actually just made with a mixture of flour and water. I'm going to mix 3 tablespoons of flour and the same amount of water until I have a smooth pancake-like batter. If it feels too dry, add a bit more water. If it's too runny, add a bit more flour. Once my buns have risen, I can place the crosses on top. I always slash a little cross over the top of my buns first. This probably isn't necessary, so feel free to skip this step. I find that the buns slightly open in the oven and then the flour and water slurry sinks into the opening, giving a more uniform, smooth bun, but this step is totally optional. If you have a pretty steady hand, then you can use a spoon to drizzle the cross mixture over each bun. I, however, do not trust myself not to make a mess of things, so I'm going to place my mixture in a piping bag. You can also use a plastic sandwich bag and just cut a small opening in the end. After all your buns have their white cross adornment, they are ready to go into the oven. Bake the buns for 18 to 20 minutes in a preheated 400-degree Fahrenheit or 200-degree Celsius oven, or until the buns are a deep golden brown. The crosses, however, will remain pale and light. While I'm waiting for my buns to bake, I'm going to get the glaze ready. In a small bowl, mix 1 cup of icing sugar, 2 tablespoons of milk, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. The glaze should be loose and spreadable. As soon as the buns come out of the oven, use a pastry brush to spread the glaze all over the top of the buns. If you don't have a pastry brush, in a pinch you can use the back of a spoon. The glaze will look milky white at first, but as the hot buns heat it up, it will become smooth and translucent. Once the glaze is on, leave it alone. It should turn itself into a very thin, shiny shell that just encrusts the top of each golden bun. Let them cool slightly and then serve warm with a spread of butter, jam, or just as they are. Enjoy!